Good afternoon, everyone. We had no idea that we were going to draw this kind of crowd, but this is awesome to see the excitement around what we're going to talk about today. My name is Maithili Dandige, and I'm the Group Product Manager for Microsoft Information Protection. When I think about what my job entails, there are 5 principles I keep in mind every day when I'm building the product. First, I'm building an integrated product that works across a set of heterogeneous environments, whether it's your apps, your cloud, your endpoint, cloud apps. Data-centric protection needs to work everywhere. Next, we think about how we help customers scale the volume of data and the complexity on data. And technology plays a huge part here, because you're not going to always have the experts there. So when you think about AI and automation and how we help you classify that data at scale is a big part about how we are approaching. And next is we really look at balancing security and productivity. When you think about building a user-centric approach where IT doesn't have to spend time, really the cost of getting this deployed, and end users can stay productive when they use our solutions. So with that, what we are here to talk about today is 3 things, very simple. We're going to talk about the benefits of data-centric protection approach. We're going to share some of the best practices for adoption and acceleration with Microsoft Information Protection solutions. And most importantly, we're going to learn from insights from our experts. So I want to introduce the experts here today.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm delighted to be here. My name is Tony Themelis. I work with Maithili on Microsoft Information Protection solutions. And my job is to help you classify, label, and protect your sensitive information across all of your assets. So your assets might be the services like SharePoint, OneDrive, Exchange, across your applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, across your devices, Windows, Mac, iOS, and Android.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Mavi, and I lead the Microsoft Information Protection Customer Experience team. We're basically responsible for deployment and adoption for Microsoft Information Protection, and we are the voice of the customer within engineering. So my job is to tell these guys what you want and make sure that they will do it.
Hi, I'm Anthony. I'm from Bridgewater Associates. If you're not familiar with Bridgewater, Bridgewater is the largest hedge fund in the world. We're based in Northeast in Connecticut, and we have about $160 billion of assets under management. We mostly serve institutional investors. Those are clients that are sophisticated, like pension funds, charitable organizations. And my job at Bridgewater is to make sure all of our users are productive and secure. And so it's a lot entailed, but I'm hoping to share a lot of our journey in doing that with MIP with you guys today.
Thank you, Anthony, Tony, and Mavi. We're really excited to have and learn and share today. So we are quickly going to frame the problem and then kind of jump into the meat of the session, which is going to be focused on the best practices that we are going to share for admins on how they deploy and accelerate MIP throughout the life cycle of their data. So when we talk about data, there is no surprise that in the last decade, we had about 10x amount of data created. And core to this data is a problem, a challenge that we had, which is the perimeter is starting to be obsolete. We also know that more organizations are moving their data to the cloud. That data can be accessed by both unmanaged and partner devices. So 68% of CISOs say that if they had some kind of identity, access management, privileged access management solution, they could have avoided the breaches. When we really think about proactive compliance, and we think about why it's becoming so important to really have an information protection and governance strategy at the core of security, that is key to what we're going to talk about today. And the foundation of that becomes how can we start to bring a solution that helps customers uniformly discover their data, which is distributed today across so many sources. How can we start to bring them the insights to know where their sensitive data is, and finally help them on board to creating the right sets of labels and taxonomy to classify that data. And that's going to be the crux of our conversation. So the first thing that we're going to talk about before we get into it is who are the people involved in this conversation. And when you really look at whether we talk about our information protection or governance scenarios, we see that people, process, and technology are at play here. And it's very important to understand who are these people and how can you influence them to get started here. So with that, I want to hand over to Tony, who is going to talk about how should we start looking at this.
Thank you, Maitali. So what you see on the screen are questions that are obvious, right? There are questions that we all have to ask, and I'm sure you've all asked yourselves with respect to, do you have a strategy? And what is that strategy? And have you thought about that strategy? Like, for example, do you know where your sensitive data is? Have you been able to scan and find it? Do you know what controls you need to put in place so that you can protect that data? And how do you protect that data? Do you have a single solution, multiple solutions? Do those solutions talk to each other? Is it coherent? Is it not? So those are a set of questions that you absolutely need to, that you absolutely need to think about. The other real important point is, do not go it alone. So there are a bunch of stakeholders, and we've distilled them into 6 distinct personas. Now, I just want to say, in your company, there may not be 6 distinct roles, right? They may be combined, they may be simpler, they may even be more complicated. But what I wanted to do is to just walk you through the roles, because they're important in terms of setting the overall framework for information protection. And one of the things that we found is that companies that do this before they start the journey actually succeed more than companies that don't. So the CISO is obviously, we all know who the CISO is, but typically they are the head of a governance committee. The governance committee sets policies and procedures and objectives with respect to how information needs to be protected inside the organization. The next one is a compliance officer. So the compliance officer's job is to understand and decipher oftentimes very complex regulations and figure out what of those regulations apply to their company and what kinds of controls they need to put in place in order to comply with the regulations. The data admin is a guy who actually writes the policy, right? So this guy gets direction from the governance committee, and they have to write a policy, a classification policy, to find sensitive data. And they want to make sure that they get it right? They don't want to make a mistake. They don't want to end up misclassifying files. They don't want to end up causing lack of access to files because they protected them from users that actually do need the access. Next is the data owner. The data owner is a super important person. They're in the business, right? So they need to be productive. They need to be able to collaborate. They need to be able to be insightful. They don't want to be hindered, but at the same time, they want to make sure that all of the investment that they make in intellectual property and all the things that they do is secured. The help desk needs to be trained in terms of how do you deal with incidents. So what kinds of incidents do you get? You might have an information worker that loses access to a document for whatever reason. They don't understand why. They need to know how to resolve that. And speaking of information workers, the last persona is you and me, right? The guys that are working day to day in the business. And we need to understand what classification means. When do we apply classification? If classification was automatically applied, what does that mean? And how do I deal with it? And what can I and can I not do? And underneath all of that is the process. In other words, it's the what you do in order to build Microsoft Information Protection. And the first thing is you build a classification scheme, right? And the classification scheme is represented by a set of labels that you'll see inside of your productivity applications. You'll see it in Outlook, in Word, Excel, PowerPoint. You'll see it in sites, in SharePoint sites, or in Teams groups. At Microsoft, we have a very simple classification scheme, and it goes as follows. The most sensitive data is highly confidential. The next one down is confidential. The next one down is general, and then we have non-business. So we have like 4 levels of classification, and we map all of our security against those 4 labels. The next thing you do in the process is you define the classification policy. So basically what that means is, what are the algorithms that I'm going to use to find sensitive data, and how do I make sure that I test and deploy those, which then comes on to the third piece of the process. How do I make sure I test, make sure they're accurate, and be able so that I can scale those across all of my organization? And then the last one is ongoing monitoring, incident response, make sure that I have visibility into how classification is used in the environment, and also make sure that I can validate that my policies are accurate and not causing problems with business process. Okay, so with that, I am going to hand over to Anthony, who's going to talk more about their experience at Bridgewater.
All right. Before I kind of get into my slide, I'll bring it up here. I wanted to kind of underscore the points that Tony was making. What we found was that it was incredibly important, and I can't say it enough, to have that group, whether it's your data governance committee, whether it's people that have had those roles, or whether it's folks in the business that you're pulling in, to really understand what is happening, understand what levers you now have available to you as you subscribe to M365 and you're thinking about MIP and adoption, because they'll come up again and again and again through your journey over to MIP from whatever you're using now, or if you're just implementing it fresh out of the box. So just to kind of jump into it, I said, let me lay out where do I start. This was something that I thought would be easy to kind of get people involved in it, and the most important part was who owns the data. And when Tony talked a little bit about the data owner before, the reason that for us we wanted to do that is we wanted to understand deeply the business processes that were creating the content. Why was that content being created? What was it for? Was there content being created in the beginning of the process, the middle of the process, the end of the process? What type was it? How important was it to the business? What types of data do I have? What I meant by this is, why does it actually matter to my business? Do I have all general data, or do I actually have a lot of highly confidential data? As you start to figure out what your policies are going to be, you're going to want to start to understand what's important and what's not important. And then, where is my data? I don't know if there's a show of hands in the room who actually have all of their data up in just Exchange Online and SharePoint Online. Is it like one person in the back there? But it's obviously going to be across a bunch of different environments. Even if it's on-premise, you could start thinking about the different levers that you have within the MIP strategy in order to say, okay, I need to scan my data. Do I need to use AIP scanner on my file shares internally? Do I need to use, what do I need to use for SharePoint? What tools can we use that the MIP team is building? So kind of start there. And then once you've kind of gotten all that information together, understood your business process, understood your stakeholders, understood what types of data and what it means to the company, you could have a very frank conversation about risks with both your security team, your compliance team, and then the data owners. Not all data is created equal, and so you shouldn't apply policy to data as such. And so that was one thing that we kind of kept very close to our heart as we were going through this journey, because it was very important to kind of start at the right places and then get to the other places through time, or apply different policies to the other places. So, and then the last bit of advice is, as always, keep it simple, stupid. Don't get confused with like people confusing labels with permissions. It'll happen all the time as you're starting to roll these things out. And so if you find yourself someone asking for this label or these 5 subcategories, like stop. Think about an ontology for how you're going to communicate this stuff, and say to your business stakeholders or the users or the help desk that let's see how it could fit into this ontology, and we need to segment our data out, because if you have 14 categories, it's never going to work. It's never going to work because your users are going to never label your data, and then you're going to have this cluster of data that's floating around somewhere that's going to get twice as worse than the hairball that you may or may not have right now. And then the last bit of advice I would give you is just start slow. You can roll out labels today, and once you've kind of set up your initial label schema and policies in a very low-risk way in kind of an audit-only mode. I was here last year listening to the Walmart conversation about how they got started. We talked a lot with the MIP team before we got started, and that was the advice that I heard across the board. Get the labels out there, train your users, make sure that they understand what it's for, what the journey is going to be, and then you could start rationing the controls down. We'll talk more about that as we move on. This slide was something that I had seen in the deck that I wanted to bring up, and I'll talk briefly on it, but feel free to snap a picture of it, download it, because these were things that I found were super practical recommendations once you actually start moving into it. I only hit a couple of this for the sake of time, but if people have questions afterwards, go ahead and ask those things. Some things on the bottom right that we're really excited about are the productivity enhancing things. This is the stuff that we've been working a lot with MIP team on to kind of make sure our users have a complete experience and make sure that there's no difference between what they're doing today and what they're doing once the labels roll out. And so it's like, okay, I'm just really asking you to apply the label to the right set of content. You understand what those are. There's a handful. It's super simple. And so things like co-authoring and collaboration that they already have today, things like being able to search files in SharePoint that they're already doing today, those are really important things. And then the other one that I would call out that you should definitely do on the productivity side is write those tooltips. Work with that data governance group or committee or whomever and make sure that those tooltips are clear, concise, and representative of what you want it to convey, and that a lot of people across a lot of businesses will understand, because it'll pay dividends. The help desk will understand what they are, the IWs will understand what they are, and the data owners can back you up that they support those types of tooltips and things like that. On the security side, I would really start to focus on, depending on what you're wanting to do and what types of data you have to protect, thinking about business data separation on personal and corporate devices, or personal and corporate areas of the same device. I don't know how many people are kind of through their way on a zero trust journey. We're going to be doing some talks later in the week if people are interested on Thursday, DEP 50, but we're going to talk a lot about how data protection is across the whole plane for a zero trust journey there. And then I would also have people look at DLP actions to either block sharing, uploads, et cetera, on with the MCAS or on SharePoint Online.
Thank you, Anthony. So one of the things that we spoke about earlier was how can we make the journey easier for you? How can we give you assistive technologies that are going to enable you to see what's going on with respect to classification, labeling, and protection? And one of the most exciting things from my perspective that we've built is in data classification is an overview page that actually shows you all of the classified data in your environment. It'll show you all of the sensitive information types that are found. We have a list of about 100 out-of-the-box sensitive information types that cover the standard things like credit cards, social security numbers, and we're adding more all the time. When you create a classification policy and you assign labels and people start labeling files either manually or through our new automated capability, those will also start showing up over here. Content Explorer is your ability to view data at rest reports showing all of your labeled and classified files across Exchange, SharePoint, and OneDrive. What you can do over here, and I want to emphasize with the appropriate role-based access control, this is highly controlled, it's not everybody that can see it, but what you can do is you can go down to the file level, you can see how files were classified, why they were classified, you can slice and dice and group them, you can validate that your policies are correct so that you can scale in an accurate and sustainable way. The other one we've called Activity Explorer. The Activity Explorer allows you to see everything that happens with respect to sensitive files. They might be shared externally. The labels might be upgraded or downgraded by users. All of that activity is visible to you and available so that you can audit and you can make sure that the policy that you created is actually being used correctly. And if you see, for example, a lot of labels being downgraded, it might be either because your users are not trained or because you missed a business process that they need to do that maybe you're controlling because of the higher label that users are lowering the label for. by having that insight and visibility, it allows you to go in, fine-tune, have your users be more productive and be more aligned with your business process, whilst at the same time maintaining the appropriate security posture. All right, so I'm going to hand over to Maitali. Thank you.
All right. So now that we saw how we can start to use these data classification capabilities and all of the pain points during onboarding to get started, the next question that an admin would have in the life cycle is, what kind of strategy does he start to put in place for where all to apply the sensitivity label? Starting from your cloud apps, whether it's your M365 apps, going to helping understand that sensitivity label on file servers, taking that sensitivity label to Microsoft Cloud apps. So that's kind of what we're going to look at now. So when you think about Microsoft Information Protection, you really have to think about this integrated approach. And the way we've made it possible is that when the sensitivity label is applied, it can be applied consistently across your file servers, Office apps, your containers, such as SharePoint sites, teams, and groups. We've brought them to containers from content now, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, as well as your non-Microsoft Cloud apps. And all of this, it was really important for us, for the admin, to have a simplified and unified way to manage these labels and their policies. And so we'll talk a lot about, if you're an existing AIP customer, Mavi will share some of the best practices of how you can start to get your labels and policies into the compliance center so that you can unlock all of these capabilities with the simplified management approach we bring in. So I want to spend a little bit of time on this slide to talk about both the right and the left. At the center is what I call as the hero. The hero in the story is the sensitivity label. And what you see on the left are properties that are intrinsic to this label. And that is what makes it so core to our data-centric strategy. It's customizable. This label persists. We know that we've persisted across file metadata so that when you're egressing out of a SharePoint site or you're copying it to a USB drive, we can take the right actions. We've now brought it to the container. It's readable by other systems. DLP actions can be applied both within Microsoft 365 and cloud apps. And it's extensible to partner solutions. And that's very key because we know that 30% of files are PDFs. We know that we want to extend it. Our partners ask us to extend it to other file types. So we made available our SDK that allows our partners to be, and this label to be extensible to them. On the right, when we think about this label, where all can it applied and how can it be applied? So we start with user-based classification, which is manual. You take it to auto-labeling so that you can assist the users within their experience to show them helpful tips as they recommend. And then you can start to scale it across your volume of data that you have when you scan. So it's the full breadth of auto-classification for both data in use and data at rest. And the key aspect is continuously we think about this as a experience that has to be simplified for the end user. It's built in natively within all these across our environments so that as you train your end users, they understand that. And even if you are scaling this automatically through auto-classification, that's well understood. So with that, what I really want, and when we were talking about this session, one of the aspects that when we look at the way Anthony and team have implemented MIP and how they think about the values and benefits of MIP, it would be great to hear from him.
Cool, thank you. So for me, this slide was a combination of a framework for a way of thinking about it and some practical advice when you're applying that framework. There's kind of two things that I basically want to convey. And so, for example, if I've got my user and there's a set of data that they want to get access to, and that data, where does that data reside? Is it on my device? Is it literally living on the device from the OneDrive sync client? Is it also up in OneDrive and going back and forth? And then how do I want to apply certain types of policies and protections against that specific type of content? The other thing that I wanted to talk about was with the difference between content and containers, and that overall, that for us, MIP has been a larger data protection strategy, not just a, hey, I could label and encrypt documents. And so as they started to extend some of these services out to things like, okay, I can have protections on the device that auto-label and auto-classify things, whether that's using DATP to do that as it's coming down onto the device, or if it's up in SharePoint and SharePoint Online, I'm able to kind of move those switches depending on what I want to do. And then if container protections aren't enough, you could start thinking about automatic content labeling as I drop it into SharePoint. So it's whether I'm uploading or whether I'm downloading something, I'm going to get a label on that, and it's going to take the right policy, whether that's encryption and protection or whether that's purely a label. And then the last thing that we're going to cover a bit in depth is think about putting protections and policies and points where it matters. It may not mean that you need to protect all of your highly confidential information with protections in the same way and in encryption. It may mean that you may want to have a rule on an egress point like Exchange Online that simply says, hey, anything that's general within my company, I kind of want people to put it into the non-business or kind of an external type of category so that they can then go share it out and I have an audit trail. And so that moving into this, what you could actually do with just that label is have Exchange Online read that label, say, okay, this is highly confidential. There's no way this should ever be sent to the company. Drop it immediately. Send an advisement to the user that says, please share a link if you're trying to share this. These types of documents aren't allowed to be sent to the company. Or if it's just a confidential document, you could do the same. On the device side, you can talk about the encryption that I was starting to get into and coming down with MDATP. MDATP does a couple of neat things. The first was that it's going to apply protection policy on the documents based on what it comes down. So if I create a new document on my laptop, say today, I'll be able to save that as like a work document or a non-work document. But if it has a label applied to that, DATP is going to scan that document and reinforce the right label that needs to be applied to that document, and also put the right protections that are on it, whether I label it as work or personal content or not. So it's kind of a great backup for your users so that you know that they're doing the right things and kind of enforcing them into the right pipelines. And then Tony's going to talk a little bit about the audit analytics and intelligence side that they're building here.
Thank you, Anthony. So on the right-hand side, basically on the top right, the audit and analytics is what I just showed you earlier. It's the ability to have visibility into all of the activities and all of the content that you've been labeling and protecting in your environment. On the bottom right is another really exciting thing that we're doing, which is we're building advanced techniques in order to improve our classification methods. So you've all probably seen our sensitive information types. I mentioned them earlier. They're available. There's 100 of them. We're continuing to improve on them. But we've also recently added exact data match capability, and we've added a machine learning platform that's going to allow you to significantly improve the accuracy and detection. And so when you use those new policies, you can actually apply them as labels and automatically have those labels applied through scanning in your environment so that you can better detect sensitive information. All right, so coming back to the theme of what can we do to help you make things better? And what I wanted to do is start off with Anthony, who's going to tell us some of their experience in terms of how they create, test, and deploy policies.
Cool. So to kind of, this is my last slide before kind of sign off here. But what I wanted to kind of leave people with was some things that you'll need to keep doing as you're deploying your policies. And so the most important thing is that group of people that I keep mentioning is keep them close. I easily meet with that same group probably twice a week to say, how's it going? What are the people saying above you? What are the people saying below you? Do we understand what's happening in the organization? Do we have support for this still? What are the things that we need to change? What do we need to do differently? And so we kind of talk about that quite a bit. The second group of people that I would say to kind of keep close to and stay in contact with is the champions within your organizations as you're kind of deploying this. we found that the best champions were the people that understood the business process the best. It might not be the data owner, as we're referred to, but it might be that guy that just creates like a ton of content all day long, and he's the guy who's the SME in his area or business process, and everyone else looks up to. If you get him on board or a group of those people on board, they make great champions to kind of further your cause, but they also are a great like pain sensor for things that will be people complaining, and it's nonsense complaints, or actually good things that you want to hear. And the last group that I would kind of make sure you keep talking to is the help desk. Outside of all of the great tools that Tony's going to talk about in a minute that they're creating for us to kind of gauge adoption within the monitoring analytics space and kind of being able to tweak and make these change, excuse me. The help desk will generally get the kind of word on the street from the users, and so make it a point to visit them as you're deploying. And then with all of that information, you can start thinking about, how do I want to tighten the screws? Do I want to start changing my check-in policy on my encrypted documents from a week or 2 weeks or whatever you set it at as kind of the thing that you stepped in with the first set of enforced encryption that you rolled out to? Do I want to tighten that down to 3 days or 4 days, and et cetera? And so those are the things that you may want to do. Do I want to create more egress policies or points on my Exchange server or my SharePoint servers to kind of protect more labels now that the users are getting used to it? Those are some things that I would keep going on with that group. And this is going to be an ever-evolving journey. And so that's kind of the last thing I'll leave you with.
Thanks, Anthony. So continuing on the theme, one of the things we're working on is, in the spirit of assistance, a simulator. Imagine you had some way that you could test your classification policy before you deploy them. Point it to some locations like your SharePoint sites, your users' OneDrive accounts, and say, what if I applied this policy? How many files would actually be labeled and classified before actually applying the label? And so what you see over here is a mock of brand new functionality. We're going into a private preview next week. There's a QR code later on for any of you that are interested in participating in a public preview, which is going to happen in about a month and a half's time. And what this will allow you to do is it will allow you to be able to create classification policies, test them in your environment, review the results, and go through a fine-tuning exercise. What we want to do is we want to give you confidence that the policies that you create in your environment are accurate and scalable. And so this view over here gives you a list of all of your policies. You can see on the bottom of the page are the ones that passed the test, that you've published and that are running in production. And the ones at the top are still in test mode. They're the ones that you're playing around with, that you're testing, that you're validating. And this is an example of the page that you see once a test is complete. It'll tell you how many documents matched your classification policy, what rules inside of your classification match those documents, and it'll tell you what locations those documents are in. And you can go and you can drill down and you can see what those matches are. You can make sure that they're accurate, and then you can move on from there.
Well, 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 we heard so much from our experts. Thank you, everyone. So as we walked you through what is Microsoft Information Protection, you probably know by now that you can actually classify, label documents manually and automatically everywhere. That includes on-prem, in the cloud, on all devices that you can actually think of. You can co-author. That's amazing. This is a brand new capability that we just released, and I'm sure you'll be happy to hear about that more. You can start using labels, as I said, across all devices. You can leverage everything by now. And like Tony said, you can build your own trainable classifiers. This is something brand new that uses ML, machine learning, and you can use it now. With that, if you can, show of hands, who is an AIP customer who already has the AIP add-in and uses the AIP portal? You're all my customers. So if you want to use this brand new capability, and if you want to use SharePoint online with labels, co-authoring, PDFs, Mac, everything, you need to migrate your labels to the SCC portal. In order to do that, we're here to help you with a click of a button. That is so easy to do. And if you still need help, if you can Either scan this QR code or go to aka.ms UL migration help. My team is just ready to help you migrate your labels and policy. Trust me, that's a click of a button. If you're a new customer, you start and you enjoy all those goodies right away, trust me. And last but not least, as Tony promised you, if you want to join our private preview for our trainers, what we call policy simulation, you can actually simulate your policy, see how it works in your organization. You can scan also this QR code and join our private preview. So thank you, everyone, and with that, I'll just hand off to my Tilly.
Thank you, Mavi. All right, I want to start wrapping the session and then open it up for a few questions. What I want you to keep in mind is all of the amazing benefits that you saw with Microsoft Information Protection, data-centric benefits. They really come to life because we are approaching building a solution with these 5 principles. It's integrated across all of your environments. We're using intelligence and automation to really help you scale your data classification and information protection needs, and making sure so that you can use it as you apply it and extend the solution where we are not meeting, and then it's built in right into all of our experiences. And these principles will continue to reflect as we bring in more capabilities to the board. So with that, I want to talk about a whole suite of sessions that we have. We did a breakout today where we announced a whole set of roadmap. And starting tomorrow, 9 a.m., Tony will go deep dive into showing a lot of demos for information protection that we are announcing. And then across our team, we have multiple sessions around DLP, deep dive, as well as some of the know your data capabilities that we demonstrated today. Those will also there'll be a session for that. So do check them out. And then here are some useful resources around getting started. With that, I would open it up for questions.
We'll also hang out here for a minute if people are shy.
So I've got a question. So when we're applying sensitivity labels, they're very often sensitive of time. For example, when we've got a document discussing a merger, something like this can be very sensitive at a certain moment in time, while maybe a week later, something like this, it could be public information. How do you address the time factor in sensitivity labels?
Those labels, were they applied manually or automatically?
Let's assume manually.
Manually, right. So what happens is you've got 2 ways that you can classify files or label files. One is manual, one is automatic. The way we've set it up in terms of hierarchy is that a manual label always wins, right? So what that means is whoever applied the policy in the first place, when the project is over, you can downgrade that file. A user can downgrade that file. Now, you may ask, well, if a user can downgrade the file, then any user can downgrade any file at any time. And the answer is we provide an audit trail that you can monitor so that you can make sure that the only downgrades in place are the ones that are allowed. And you can also ensure that downgrades have to be justified. And you can also, by policy, allow or disallow downgrades.
Okay, thanks.
There's another idea that I had that you could potentially try as well with this thing that they're launching with labels within containers within SharePoint. You could potentially just build a flow using Microsoft Flow and an approval workflow within there, where you would then say, hey, this thing has become a press release, this gets dropped into this approval workflow, and then it automatically gets moved into that container, relabeling the document and classifying it in that way.
For documents that aren't Microsoft app documents, how does the labeling work for everything else?
So I'd like to start with PDF, which is the biggest one, and we've done a lot of work actually in partnership with Adobe to elevate PDF to be a top-class citizen. And so when we scan documents automatically using the techniques, we actually support a few dozen file types. So it's not just Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So the question then is, you can see the sensitive data in terms of a data at rest report. The label, however, can only be applied to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and PDFs for now. One of the things that we do have, though, is we do have APIs and we do have partners that have started extending the functionality. So for example, if you're a CAD design company and you use AutoCAD, there is a plugin from one of our partners that understands and allows users to apply sensitivity labels inside of the AutoCAD format. So our position on that is, obviously we focus on the file types that we own. We make a big effort to support file types that are really, really ubiquitous, like Adobe. And then we provide APIs for third parties so that they can use to connect to other file types as well.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you for the session. We have already rolled out AIP already, and now we are thinking of adding controls to the labels. And we're struggling a bit with RMS because it's really hard for our users to understand what is the difference between like RMS and then they have controls in SharePoint, you know, so it's like they have to double do everything with control to get access to the files and everything, and we're really struggling of how we can do adoption here. Do you have any recommendations on how to go for that?
That's a great question, thank you. So first of all, with what we're doing right now, you don't need to do that anymore because labels are everywhere and we're using the same label. There will be one place to create the policy and your end users will use the same label for Word or for SharePoint. We do have a lot of campaign materials that will help you educate your users which labels to apply when, or you can use automation if needed. And that's it, I guess. Do you have anything to add on that? You do?
I think the encryption templates that you had, let's say you had published a set of encryption templates before, they'll work with labels as well. So there is some, depending on the environment setup that you have, we can definitely help you with that. So if you come by our booth, we can talk a little bit about that challenge.
Thank you.
I have a question. Referencing we have some HR data that they only want HR staff to see it. We can control it in SharePoint Online, but particularly the question was asked how to prevent e-discovery from finding that. I've asked the e-discovery people and they had the same look you have right now.
No, I'm trying to understand, you want to prevent or do you want to have the...
Prevent it. We want to prevent it. Example, HR has background check information on potential employees. They're the only personnel to see it. They have the SharePoint rights are set up. But when I use e-discovery, I can find it and I can open it. I'd like to not to be, they would like me not to be able to do that.
Great, I get your point. So within the e-discovery experience, you want to set the right permissions so that the data, you can do that with the set of RBAC and permissions that we have. So we can help you with that, for sure. So you can make sure that the native viewer can block that access to that data. So you can just see the data, but it's not accessible.
That's within the e-discovery set?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
The e-discovery people didn't know that, so that's good information.
Okay, that's part of my team as well, but I can help you connect with the right folks there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, we're an existing AIP customer, and one of the areas that our company has really embraced, or people in the company have really embraced, is using custom policies. So allowing, for example, an HR person to communicate with a manager confidentially. So one-to-one or maybe one-to-many, but not adopting the unified label. What is the go-forward strategy for allowing custom-defined policy in the new MIP realm?
These are your custom sensitive types.
They're user-defined.
User-defined permissions.
Yeah.
Great question. So we do have good news for you. We are working on it, and that's something that we will support within the native experience as well. So whatever worked with the add-in with UDP would work with the natively within M365 apps. So you will be able to set up a UDP policy with a label that you've created in the compliance center. That should work.
So it would allow an individual to send the confidential information to, so one person to send confidential information to just 2 other parties.
Correct.
Yeah.
So there's a sub-label that's called recipients only in email, and basically we use it internally all the time. Like when we're hiring somebody and you've got some confidential information and I send mightily an email on a prospective candidate, I set it to recipients only, no forward, which means that I'm sure that it only goes to her if she can't forward to anybody else, and she can reply to me, but it's just that single communication.
Yeah, perfect. And in fact,
Yeah.
that's almost exactly what ours is called also.
Oh, good. Okay.
Specific recipients.
Yeah.
But what about for files? Will it work for only email, or will it work for files as well?
It works for email only right now. Okay.
The attachment will inherit that
The attachment with it.
from the email.
So our scenario is very much about PDFs that are being produced by HR for sensitive things, offers or bonuses or whatever. And so it's very much a few to many discrete conversations. So maybe let's throw that out there as another use case. So thank you.
Thanks. Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, 2 questions. Here. Hey. Hello.
Okay. I would like to ask more about this.
Wait then. Hi, 2 questions. I didn't catch a release date for Word Online labels. So Word Online, Excel Online. When's that available?
Available now.
Are you sure?
Yes.
My tenant.
Yes, these are manual labels. They should be, we've rolled them out, and so you should see your manual labels across all of the rich client web apps, as well as if you get the iOS app from the store, you'll start to see it on iOS and Android Outlook mobile as well.
Cool. Second question was...
that was an easy one.
Yeah. Track and revoke when you AIP was in the Azure portal. Is there any kind of plan to bring that to the unified classification?
No plans right now. We don't have a clear roadmap there, but that's something that we are looking into. Definitely our strategy is to move all of these core features to native. And so as we started to bring all of our manual labeling across Windows and to all of our apps, the next UDP is something that we worked on, and then we'll start to bring in some of the other stuff as well.
Okay. Is there any type of rough guideline on that? No.
Take it offline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one clarification for the online and Mac and everything. You need your labels to be in the SEC portal and not on the AIP one. So last question, I guess.
Easy one. The supported file type for auto labeling. I heard about Office files, PDF. How about text file and image files? Does it work, especially in SharePoint Online?
Yes, auto labeling can detect sensitive information by extracting text from a few dozen file types, which includes text and image. It depends on whether the image text can be extracted. Some images have metadata that we can extract the text from. What you cannot do is label, but you'll be able to, in your data at rest report that I was showing you earlier in Content Explorer, you can see text file content in there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.